Your birthday arrives. Messages appear. Notifications pile up. People expect excitement, but inside, nothing feels different. No emotional shift. No sense of importance. Just another day. You say thank you. You smile politely. But a quiet thought remains. Why doesn't this feel meaningful to me? And sometimes you wonder if something is missing. But what if this reaction reveals something deeper about how your mind works? Most people attach emotional weight to birthdays. They anticipate them, count down to them, use them as emotional checkpoints. Birthdays become symbols of progress, of identity, of being seen. But for you, it feels neutral. Not sad, not exciting, just neutral. You don't feel the need for celebration to validate your existence. You don't need one specific day to confirm your worth. And sometimes this creates distance. Others may assume you're emotionally detached, or ungrateful, or disconnected. But internally, it feels calm, stable. This difference often connects to something deeper in psychology. Not emotional emptiness, but emotional independence. And this mindset begins with how your brain assigns meaning to time. You are not missing something. Your brain simply organizes meaning differently. Most people use external markers, birthdays, holidays, milestones, to structure emotional significance. These markers act like anchors. They tell the brain this moment matters more than others. But some minds don't rely on external anchors. They rely on internal continuity. Instead of dividing life into symbolic checkpoints, your brain experiences life as one continuous process. No artificial emotional spikes, no assigned importance to arbitrary dates. This is often linked to higher levels of internal self-referencing. Your sense of identity doesn't depend on events. It remains stable across time. And this stability changes how the brain processes emotional significance. But the real reason lies deeper, in how the brain regulates emotional prediction. The brain constantly predicts emotional rewards. This involves dopamine, not just for pleasure, but for anticipation. Dopamine increases when the brain expects something meaningful. For many people, birthdays trigger dopamine anticipation, not because of the day itself, but because of what it represents: attention, validation, recognition. Their brain predicts emotional reward, so the day feels emotionally elevated. But when your brain doesn't attach special predictive value to the date, dopamine remains stable. No spike, no drop, just baseline. Here's the mental model. Imagine two types of clocks. One clock rings loudly at specific times. The other moves silently, continuously. Most people's brains are like alarm clocks. They react strongly to symbolic moments. Your brain is like a flowing clock. It doesn't need alarms to recognize existence. It experiences identity as constant, not event-dependent. This pattern is often associated with strong internal validation systems. Your self-worth isn't updated by external events. It remains internally regulated. But this also connects to something even deeper: how your brain relates to time itself. Understanding this mindset helps you use it intentionally, not to change who you are, but to understand your psychological strengths. Here are 4 key principles behind this rare mindset. Step 1. Identity stability. What it means: your identity doesn't rely on symbolic reinforcement. It exists independently. Why it works in the brain. This reflects lower dependence on external validation loops.
The ventral striatum, linked to reward from social approval, becomes less reactive. Self-worth becomes internally regulated. Example: you don't need a birthday to feel valuable, because your brain doesn't require external reminders of existence. It already assumes continuity. Step 2. Reduced temporal emotional anchoring. What it means: your brain doesn't attach emotional weight to arbitrary time markers. Why it works: the hippocampus organizes memory based on meaning, not calendar structure. So emotional significance comes from experiences, not dates. Example: a random quiet evening may feel more meaningful than a birthday, because the emotional experience, not the date, defines importance. Step 3. Lower reward prediction dependency. What it means: your brain doesn't depend on anticipated emotional spikes. Why it works: stable dopamine regulation reduces emotional volatility. You experience fewer emotional highs and lows tied to expectations. Example: if your birthday passes quietly, your emotional state remains unchanged, because your brain didn't predict emotional reward in the first place, so there's nothing to lose. Step 4. Strong internal reference point. What it means: your brain references itself, not external events, to define value. Why it works: this reflects higher activity in brain regions associated with self-referential processing, like the medial prefrontal cortex. You define meaning internally, not through social synchronization. Example: you don't need collective celebration to confirm personal significance, because your brain doesn't outsource self-definition, it generates it internally. Integration. Think of your mind like an internal compass. Most people use external landmarks to navigate: birthdays, achievements, recognition. These landmarks tell them where they are. But an internal compass doesn't need landmarks. It always knows its position. It doesn't depend on external confirmation. It doesn't need symbolic reinforcement. It moves steadily, quietly, continuously. This doesn't mean you don't feel. It means your emotional system isn't controlled by external timing. Your brain doesn't need special days to validate your existence, because it never lost track of it. Quiet, empowering close. There is nothing wrong with celebrating birthdays, and there is nothing wrong with not needing them. Both are simply different ways the brain organizes meaning. But when your birthday feels like a normal day, it often means something quiet but powerful. Your sense of self doesn't depend on reminders. It exists without reinforcement. You don't need a specific date to feel real, because you never stopped being real. And maybe that's why. To you, every day was already enough.